Construction.
What's up, everybody? It's the Hardy Construction. You can find us at hardyconstruction.tumblr.com, youtube.com/hardyconstruction, as well as facebook.com/the Hardy Construction with your host Comp and
Ninja Drop.
and today's film is
Under the Shadow, 2016.
Under the Shadow 2016, directed by Babak Anvari, written by Babak Anvari, starring Nargis Rashidi, Avin Manshari, and Bobby Naderi. It's about as a mother and daughter struggle to cope with the terrors of a post-revolution, war-torn Tehran of the 1980s. A mysterious evil begins to haunt their home. Okay, so this film has a big deal about the Iran-Iraq things going on. A nice big war that's happening.
Cities.
If anybody remembers Saddam Hussein and his problems with people, that's sort of... I don't think he was in... I'm horrible with history, especially with Middle East and stuff like that, so I have no clue.
Well, this was called the War of the Cities.
Right, so it shows you that...
between Iran and Iraq.
It shows you that even the horrors of war can haunt the Middle East.
Yes.
Get it? Because it's... Alright, very good. So, this movie I picked because I had heard about it being very good, and I was like, Under the Shadow. I was like, it's an interesting premise, especially because it's a film... They shot this film in Jordan. Not that makes any, difference to me, but it takes place in Iran in the 80s, and they shot it in Jordan because I guess Iran's pretty busy right now. And it stars Nargis Rashidi, who is smoking hot, who plays Shideh.
She really is. Oh my
she's
God.
She's in a film, Danny, where she's playing a mother who I guess she can't afford for her kids, so she becomes a prostitute, and her son runs in on her getting plowed by another guy. So she's actually.
Oh, wow.
She was raised. She born in Iran, and then she moved to, I believe, Germany, right? So I feel so like whenever I see people speak more than one language, like I can speak 1.5 languages, and I feel so stupid when they just fluently speak different languages.
I can say a few words in Pig Latin.
So she's speaking English. She obviously can speak German, and then she was also, speaking in. Oh God, what are they speaking?
She speaks German, Persian,
right? And anyway, so this film deals with this war that has been destroying these small towns, and we see the people that are not actually, at war. We see the people that are living in the city. And Danny, as a since it's a movie about Middle East, Danny thought this movie was actually a comedy, right? You were asking me, you were like, "This movie's hilarious."
I did find it hilarious.
As an eternal Jew, is that what they call it? No, I'm just kidding.
Yes, I am a Zionist supreme.
Anyway, and it was so funny because had watched halfway through it, and you were like, this movie is really depressing. And then I was like watching, I was like, yeah, it really is, because it's like,
it's very depressing.
It's just a miserable experience to just be. I can't imagine.
It's like a horror movie that there's like horror elements of a horror movie, and then also just the horror of having to
life,
live in
right?
such a place.
Because spoiler alerts, we're from America, so we're watching this film, and we have no concept of living in this sort of terror. Like, I mean, there's different types of terror that obviously people live in. I was like, when we were there during 9/11, so that's a different type of terror of just like that sort of random.
But this is like an everyday.
Yeah, it's a daily thing that's happening.
Hit my house.
So that sense of security that we don't really have anymore, that was gone with these people living under these things. It's like the English getting bombed all the time. But these people are getting bombed by fucking missiles just flying around.
We might get that pretty soon, in light of certain events that have happened in our country.
So this film details the story of Shideh and her daughter Dorsa. Her husband Iraj has been conscripted, so he has to go, I guess, get on the front lines of fighting Iraq. He's a doctor, so he has to but you never know. They probably put a fucking gun in his hand and shit too. So she lives in this small area in, I think it was Tehran, right? Yeah. And she lives with a couple of neighbors. She wanted to be continue being a doctor with her studies, but apparently her past, she had gone into leftist kind of political things, being vocal political, and that comes to bite her on the ass later on, because they're like, you know what, you just in the area that you are, that's what they tell her. The guy says you can't, bother being a doctor, that look for something else, which has got to be fucking horrible, because you got to think about, the situations where The government
Yeah.
is basically telling you to fuck off, and you can't follow your dreams because you disagreed with us politically. And
Well,
I'm
they
not.
definitely get into like extreme up religious, like religion controlling everything type of commentary, and it's
But there's
so
definitely there's
yeah.
definitely things about this film where I'm not going to speak out on any religion, so to speak. I'm not a religious guy myself. I think that this film is reading the commentary on IMDb. It was weird because there was a guy who called Nacho Miranda 88, and he had a pretty interesting take on the film because a lot of it was lost. I mean, when we'll get into it, but this film details with jinn, something that you were talking about a while back, right? That
Yeah,
you actually were
I've
talking to me
always
about.
loved that kind of stuff. Yeah.
So jinns are, what are jinns? Do you know what jinns are? You know what they are.
They're like basically like demons that are from like more esoteric books in the Torah, and they're demons. Like the Goetia talks about them and stuff. I don't know a lot. I'm not like an expert or anything.
Okay, so
but
this is from
yeah.
Wikipedia. Jinn, also romanized as jinn or anglicized as genies, with the more broad meaning of demons, are supernatural creatures in early Arabian and later Islamic mythology and theology. An individual member of the jinn is known as jinni, and then the one with the D in front of it, jinni or genie. So Aladdin the movie was actually promoting demons giving you want to have a friend like me. And I remember there was a trailer for a movie that just came out of nowhere called Jinn a couple, like two or so years ago that I don't think anybody saw. But anyway, so this film deals with Jinn and its encroaching effect on Shideh's life, because she is obviously getting a lot of shit from not being able to follow through. Her 6 months earlier, her mother had passed away, and I guess that sort of spurred on her wanting to become a doctor again. But she had Dorsa to take care of, a very cute kid played by Avin Manshari, and she was a good
She
actress.
really is like a super cute kid.
She's super
Oh my
cute
God.
because she has like the whole bangs. She actually reminds me of a friend of mine with the bangs and that sort of childlike, the way that she is. She's a cute kid, and she's not as annoying as her looking for that fucking doll is annoying, but she's not as annoying as many other
Well,
kids
she's
in
looking
horror
for the
films
doll
are.
because if she doesn't find the doll, her soul is going to be stolen.
But
by
she
the
doesn't
fucking
know
jinn.
about that. Her mother knows about that. She doesn't know
must
about that.
suspect it because she's
Maybe.
freaking out.
But this film, obviously, if you've seen The Babadook, it's very similar in a sense with the mother taking care of her child, but there's a lot of there's a lot of like horror genres where mothers are protecting their child and there's like no father around. Obviously,
And
the
this
father has
reminded
to
me
go
of
to war.
what's the one with the I always forget the name of it. The guy that plays
The Possession?
Negan. Yeah. It's kind of like that, except the difference between this movie, and
Was with a
like
guy.
every other generic demon movie is the whole Middle Eastern, like touching upon like war-torn Iran and all this kind of stuff.
Right. Which I
It's,
guess
like,
would be
definitely- I've never seen that before.
I guess it's sort of like the ideological difference between this and the Possession, right? Because the Possession was like Jewish mythology demons, and this is Middle Eastern sort of demons.
Yeah, but there
Um,
was no like horror aspect in the Possession outside of the actual obvious. So there's a demon. This is like there's like every second of their life is a horror aspect, and then also there's a demon.
Yeah, it's really unsettling, that part when she's talking to that guy at the beginning of the film, and you see a missile strike the buildings in the background, and they're just watching it, and the guy's like, yeah, whatever, And I mean, it shows you a lot of shit going on, those sort of areas where, like, if the guys find out that they have a VCR, they'll take it from them. Like, if she can't.
Well, this is also in the 1980s, so I'm sure
Right.
it's like a little better, maybe, hopefully now. But
She has
I
to
don't know.
walk out. She has to walk out with the burqa outside, and if she doesn't wear one, she might get lashes for it. But she's trying. She's actually just more worried about her kid and getting the fuck out safe. But people don't necessarily believe it in the thing that you live in the sort of life that they have over there, in the sort of state laws, which is obviously religious. They cannot go out without burqas and stuff like that. And this is what I was talking about with the IMDb guy. His name is Nacho Miranda 88. He wrote this. He goes, I see the jinn as more of a metaphor about her fear to losing her freedom. To her, the jinn takes the form of all her insecurities and symbols of oppression. A burqa, a woman telling her daughter she can't be a good mother, the voice of her husband telling her she is useless and will never be anything else because she can't be both a doctor and a good mother. And why this is, because when you actually see the jinn in form at the end of the film, I was sort of let down a little bit by it, but reading this guy's information, it made sense, because looking at the jinn, it just looks like fucking Aladdin's rug flying around. But what they're saying is it looks like a burqa, which is, what the traditional religious garb that women wear. And listen, I've seen stuff on Vice where they speak to women who are of this religious following, and they're completely cool with it. You know what I mean? So it's like, as a Westerner,
I've seen both perspectives. We can't judge them.
We can't judge any of that shit. So as a Westerner, I can't really say anything about what people do with their religion and their choices. But this is what this guy is saying is, and the head of the doll that is left behind could represent the fact that under a theocratic regime, women will lose their right to express their thoughts, or that what their thoughts and intelligence will not be taken into account. So this is what this guy's saying. I agree about the stuff about the the burqa and the woman telling her that that she can't be a good mother, stuff like that. So it all depends on what the director says. I haven't read anything what the director says of the film, but whether it's a total
this movie was made for nothing too. I'm reading,
and it looks good.
Oh wait, no, that's the box office. But I don't think it was a high budget movie though. And they did some pretty cool shit considering they had no money,
They did really good stuff. They did a pretty effective jump scare in the film too. Usually something oh boy, jump scare.
There was one where I got legitimately creeped out.
Which part? Which one was it? I assume it was the same one that I'm thinking about. But go ahead.
Say your part, because I'm trying to I can't remember. I just remember
the part that I thought it was so funny because I watched this film in 2 days. So the first night I was sort of watching it like 3:00 in the morning. I was like, I don't want to watch the rest of this. I was legitimately feeling creeped out by it, because I was watching it in headphones in the complete darkness. And then I was watching it without my headphones, and the part comes when she has a dream where her window, there's an X, they tape up the window so if some sort of sonic boom happens,
that part
doesn't break. So she goes and she fixes the tape, and a hand smashes through the window, and it's like a legitimate jump scare that was like, holy shit, I didn't expect. I mean, you're expecting it to happen, but I didn't expect it at that free.
No, but the part that actually really creeped me out was with the fake daughter on the stairs.
Well, explain what happens in that.
She's going down with her daughter, and then she hears her daughter screaming from upstairs.
Right, but it was the fake daughter upstairs. The real daughter, it was right.
Yeah,
no, it was
when it was like, oh god, I hate that concept.
Yeah, I sort of pictured that happening, but yeah, that was pretty effective. I think that the scares in the film are pretty legitimately good, and it has this. You're right. It's two senses of horror. It's a very unsettling film because you're dealing in a time of war. Stuff like when the missile strikes their building and goes through the roof. And it kills that old man. So this movie only has a body count of 1, if you're not counting the actual war around the fucking area and killing people. Where it kills a guy, gives him a heart attack, and they're thinking that maybe the spirit was latching onto a missile, which is
the creepy woman's telling her this.
Yeah, which is a very strange sort of concept, but I guess it makes sense within their world. But just looking at that missile right through the ceiling, and it has a moment to explode, but it doesn't. It's a very fucking weird sort of visual, and it's not a reality that we're not used to. So seeing it in this film, it really opens your eyes. And it's weird because it's, obviously we watch the news every day, but you get very, what's the phrase? You just become desensitized about stuff. And you're like, oh, it's just sort of something, whatever you see on CNN is like, oh, people getting blown up, and you don't think about it. You don't think about people just getting killed.
Obama and George Bush have drone bombed so many innocent people at this point. One thing is nothing, but to actually see a missile go through a thing, although that was from Iraq and not from us, but still.
There was a film that I saw, which is called Waltz with Bashir, which I think is an interesting film. People should check out. It's a documentary, but it's done animated, and you're sort of like, okay, this is a. You're almost watching it with a sort of I don't know what the phrase is. It's sort of like whimsical, even though it's war and there's really messed up stuff that happens to it. It feels whimsical. It feels disconnected because it's animated, and then at the very end, there's a visual that is real, a live visual of something that happened, and with that one image, it impacts you of how horrible war is and how war, is like blind to whoever it kills, and it's like
Right.
it was the most unsettling thing I've ever seen in a film of all time. Like when like Waltz with Bashir, see that film. Anybody, just watch that movie. It's a very interesting documentary about like just Middle East shit going down. And I remember that theater and people were watching it. You couldn't hear a fucking pin drop when that last scene, when that last image came up, because that was I think it was a genius thing by the director of that film, where it's like, you know, you laughed and you had fun watching this film about people dying, which wasn't, the movie's not about having fun watching and dying, but you almost feel disconnected. And then when they show you that last image, it's like, this is what the toll is in real life. And everybody in that theater was like, it was the most miserable crowd of people that loved the movie, but it was the most miserable group of people because we all walked out and I was like, Jesus Christ. And
Yeah,
Under the
right.
Shadow has that sort of feeling to it because it's not explicitly stated where she's, you know, fighting her religious beliefs in the movie. There's nothing about it that says her character hates it. She's obviously frustrated, and you can see it simmering, but she doesn't outright say anything. But I think it's about the tension building up. It's sort of like how the Babadook was mostly a woman internally dealing with her husband's death, and then she's, you know, going crazy. And I guess that it's still a little bit out of the way of whether it's really haunted or not. I thought it was really haunted in the Babadook.
No, it was.
But in this, there's people who are saying, "Oh, it's just internalized. She's not really haunted."
No,
But
it
in this,
was.
that's what I say. But there's some people that don't believe it. They just think it was her
Whatever.
emotions that whatever. And this film,
Bullshit.
she's getting emotional, but she never outright says what it is. Although characters don't really need to be outright about it. And I think she's a really well done character. She's acted very well by Nargis Rashidi. And
oh, she's so hot.
she's is that how we compliment actors, Danny? It's not about the sex of the
Everything
actor.
about her acting is so hot.
It's
Like hot
disgu-
as in like, wow, she's a hot ticket. She's gonna do
Oh.
great. She's a
But isn't it
star.
disgusting how good looking everybody in this movie was? Her husband looked like fucking walked out of a soap opera. I was
Yeah.
like, you bastards, is good looking people. But even in war torn countries, your wife can bust your balls because she was busting her husband's balls. It was great.
It's
it was
true.
like an American sitcom. But I thought it was really, really well done for a film. You know, I think it was his first feature length film, Babak Anvari, and he
He's
did
fucking
really
awesome.
well with it. I mean, and if this-
we never see, as far as I mean, I personally do not know any Iranian movies. I know there was that like A Girl Walks Home at Night, which is supposed to be in Iran, but it was an American-made movie.
Yeah,
by
they
Elijah
shot
Wood's
it. They
company.
shot it. Where did they shot that somewhere in California, I think.
Yeah,
but
it
took
was
place in
Elijah
Iran.
Wood's. I can't think of the name. Spectre Vision made it, but it was supposed to be in Iran, I think. Or
And they
something.
spoke Farsi in that film. That's what I remember. Like I was like, oh yeah, they spoke Farsi. Yeah, it's an Iranian vampire western, but it was shot in America. But since I'm so fucking stupid, I was like, oh, I thought they shot in Iran because everybody's speaking in that Farsi.
Well, Farsi is an Iranian language.
Oh, so I guess now this shows you how culturally inept I am because I spoke.
Oh, I mean, how would you know? We're not from there, but
Because what were they speaking in Under the Shadows?
Persian
Persian.
is like a blanket term for a
Okay.
few different languages, as far as I know.
Okay, so it's almost like speaking English in a way, like when people say that.
I
Well,
don't
I guess
know.
English is only one sort of. All right, very good, very good.
Maybe it's like
what,
a romance language, which could
what
have,
stood
like,
out? What
Italian,
stood out?
French, who knows?
What stood out in this film for you? I know you said you had a hilarious joke that was going to be offensive. What was that joke?
No, my joke was, it's not even about the movie really, but today I was trying to cut a piece of dark chocolate. I bought this brick of dark chocolate, so I bought so I had like a butcher knife, and I couldn't do it, so I heated it up like really hot, and I'm cutting it, and it's like melting through and cutting. And then I waited a couple minutes, and then I took my finger and I tried to like wipe the chocolate off of the knife, and like my finger stuck, and it just started burning my finger. And that is so much worse than being in a war-torn country. The
Okay,
pain
it
I
paid
felt.
off. That paid off. That was a good joke. What did you think of the way that
But I have a blister. Like I put aloe vera on my finger.
What did you think of the look of the creature itself?
I mean, you don't.
It's CGI.
Really, yeah, you barely see it. It's basically just a blanket.
It's a
or
floating blanket, which could be,
burqa,
you know. I
whatever.
mean, it's
I mean,
effective.
I didn't care for that part so much.
Right.
I didn't care for like the getting sucked in the floor part so much, but like the movie as a whole and the way it's shot and everything is like really well done.
I think the part with the nightmares when she sees her husband and he's laying face down and he just gets sucked under the covers, like that's sort of unsettling. I did like the part when she found her fake daughter under the bed and it was just like these cartoon teeth, like giant teeth in the face.
Yeah. Oh, and also when
blackness.
the hole in the ceiling sucks open or sucks closed, I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I will say that like Iranians and Latinos have the same thing in common, is that if there's a crack in the ceiling, we'll just use duct tape to cover it up.
Is that what you guys do?
No, I don't do that. It was just a racist joke that I made on my people. I think there's a good atmosphere to the film. It feels like it's always, you don't know what's going to happen, especially because it's an Iranian film. I didn't know how it was going to end, honestly, because, with a Korean film, everybody's going to die.
It's going to be sad, yeah.
In American film, it has two ways.
Well, it ended on a pretty bad note, to be honest.
In what sense?
The fucking doll head and her book are still at the building. They're fucked. The
That's
Jinn
true.
are gonna find them.
I mean, you didn't see the shadow monster yank it away off screen like they would in an American film.
No, but the woman said, that scary, creepy woman that keeps smiling, she said that if it has your personal possessions, you'll never escape them, and it has the head of the doll and her medical book.
No, I looked at it as more positive that they got away, but I guess you're right about that. Is there any negative things you can say about the film?
No, it was really good.
Yeah, it's a
I mean,
very.
If they had a better budget, it would have been better probably. But I mean, they worked with what they had.
They also said it was metaphorical when she crashed through the gate with her car, but I'm trying to figure out what it is metaphorical of. I'm sure it is something like a woman breaking through something, but it's if it's supposed to be metaphorical, I think the stuff that guy pointed out from IMDb is pretty smart if that's what they're going for.
I would have liked more boobs.
And anyway, she was working out in the movie. That was good. She was hot.
I wanted to see some boobs.
So I think it was really well done, and I guess it's the director was trying to fly under the radar with being too overtly political with the film, because obviously the film is political because it's taking place during a very political event.
Wasn't the director actually like from Iran and stuff? Like he's from here, right?
Babak Anvari?
Yes.
Let me see. Babak Anvari is a director and writer known for Under the Shadows.
Iranian-born Babak Anvari. Yep.
And so he knows what he's doing. He made a very interesting case for film because you don't really see horror war films. You know what I mean? There are horror war films. There's like Frankenstein's Army and
Pan's Labyrinth.
Yeah, well, that's a good one too. Yeah, but like the American sort of horror army sort of tries to make it super cool. Like Frankenstein's Army is a found footage movie that takes place during fucking Nazis. Okay, whatever. I don't know how
this is
footage
like
would look completely different.
This is an intelligent movie.
Yeah, that they're trying to go on all levels. It's not just like, hey, look, there's a giant Nazi monster attacking us. So there's been enough. Which sounds pretty cool.
His teeth
I won't
are
lie.
razor sharp swastikas.
Yeah, exactly. Oh boy, I'm not even gonna say the joke I was gonna say. But what is there anything negative about the film? You said it's just the budget, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not even a negative. It's just I bet that if they had a little more money, they could have probably done some better effects in certain parts. So
I will say I got
a little weak.
I will say I got creeped out with one scene where there's Mr. Abrahimi, who's the super. Is he the super or the whatever, the landlord of the building? And I guess he had a relative, a nephew of his, whose family got killed by the bombs. And there's a part where he was talking. I guess we see him talking to the daughter, and the mother, the wife of Mr. Abrahimi, says, "Oh, the kid's a mute." And I was like, "Ooh, that's creepy." It was like sort of real creepy. But we do hear him talk later. He just got mute because he became mute because of the bombing and stuff that killed his family.
What a baby! Grow up.
Anyway, so I thought that was good. I think I understand what you're saying about the budget. I actually didn't have any problem with the film. Well, I did have a problem with the way that
it's not even a problem. It's just like I know that if they had a bigger budget, it would have been a better movie.
I was sort of let down by the way the monster looked, but other than that, I think it's a pretty effective, spooky movie. And it works on a lot of levels that I think people will get to appreciate. And there's a lot of things you got to look for, and I guess it'll speak to you without. It's not like bashing you over the head with this is what it is. It's not doing that. You have to be a thinking man or thinking woman to.
Thinking woman.
Yes, to enjoy this film. So
That's right,
with that,
Alex. Believe it or not, they can think. I know you think not.
I'm waiting for somebody to write this in a book. I'm waiting for Trump to tell me that. Then I'll believe it. I'm kidding. So I would give this movie an 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10. Being friends with a little girl, you're mute, but you're talking to her, and then you give her a protective charm of cat fur to ward off monsters.
To which she lost.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if they kept the cat fur. If that would have. I'm gonna give this movie. I will give it a 9 out of 10. It would get a 10 if the effects were a little better.
I'm going to say if she got naked in the. But go ahead.
Or if she got naked, if there were more boob effects, that would have been great.
Oh yeah,
Nine-
the vault.
9 out of 10.
Boy, this is great stuff.
Hold on.
Under the Shadows, 2016. Starring-
9 out of 10. Having the
90s.
option to leave your very scary building that a missile just fell into, but not leaving because you just want to, like, I don't know, like, prove a point to your husband or something. But
Yeah, I guess you're
meanwhile,
right.
your fucking in-laws will let you stay with them, and it's way better.
With that, Danny, what's the final word?
My finger, the burn on my finger is so much worse than the pain of war.
The horror deconstruction.